Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several articles I'd like to enter first, and I'd like to enter those now, if I may. And I can read the names. 5 articles?
Without
No
objection. They're all
What from Afghanistan, Ukraine, Iran, Israel, the Biden administration has categorically failed they failed on foreign policy. They failed to deter war, the very first mission of diplomacy. From the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan to the lack of guidance in Ukraine and delayed support for Israel, and now delayed responses on this drone attack on American servicemen in Jordan. It's all a failure of deterrence. And it's how much easier is it to fail when your U.S. president turns over $6 billion to Iran. The Iranian government is constantly working to destabilize the Middle East, and they pose a danger to our allies in the region. They're a known funder of terrorism, and they pose a direct threat to national security. We can't economically support them. Let me say, Mr. Secretaries, I've never said that before, Mr. Secretaries. Never before have we had a more august pair of experts on international policy before us. So thank you very much for being here. And Secretary Panetta, I wanted to thank you for your earlier comments about the willingness of our young men and women to defend America and the free world. One of my sons served under you when you were SecDef in the Middle East in multiple tours, and I saw the same determination that you described. And I'll add everybody's telling you how well Jimmy's behaving. He's been outstanding. He's just terrific. He hasn't ever had a day when people said so many nice things about him. Secretary Pompeo, thank you very much for being here today and for your continued public service on foreign affairs and diplomatic policy, even in the face of Iranian death threats and bounties on your life. With all the separate attacks that we're seeing across the world, it can certainly look like our growing number of adversaries are acting independently, but I think we know that's not the case. There is this sort of global alliance against democracy, the rules-based order of nations. And our NATO allies actually have risen to this fact and declared their concerns in these other theaters, such as the Indo-Pacific and the Middle East. I wonder if you would clarify for us this threat to the free world for our folks back home, because it doesn't always, they don't always think about that in a larger sense.
So it is the case, as you've described. These are all linked. These are not independent strategies. They may be in independent theaters, separate theaters, but make no mistake about it, there are Iranian drones going to Russia to kill Ukrainian kids. There's Russian energy flowing to China. There's Chinese semiconductors flowing to the Russian defense industry, Iranian oil into both Russia and China. These actors are working to undermine the things that matter most to us here at home. It's hard sometimes. When I represented South Central Kansas, it's hard to appreciate when you're going about your life, raising your family, it's hard to appreciate that there is evil in the world that is a staggering confrontation to our way of life as we find it. We always, in America, we try to find the best in people. We're always optimistic, but having spent time, as I know Secretary Panetta, with some of the most evil human beings that have ever walked the face of the earth during our lifetimes, these folks want bad things for us. They want to undermine that very idea of freedom here at home, and we have a responsibility to get it right economically, diplomatically, and make sure we have a strong military to defend those two.
Well, I agree with you greatly. I appreciate both of you gentlemen lending your life of service and knowledge and insights to this committee. This committee has been behaving very, very bipartisan fashion. I think we all agree that we have a serious problem in front of us, and it's our job to rally our friends around us and our colleagues and support these things in the world. Thank you so much for coming here and shoring up our determination. I appreciate that. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. Mr.